Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Ibi's gonna begin to open in a prayer.
Good afternoon, everyone. You're all welcome to our first Parish and Council meeting of the year. Thank you so much for sparing your time to be here. I would just like us to keep in mind this afternoon that God is in everything. So we should begin the meeting with a prayer. Dear Lord, as we prepare to be in our meeting, let us remember your promise to be present when 2 or 3 of us are gathered in your name. Please, God, unite us in your spirit. Inspire us with your spirit of wisdom. Plant seeds of your vision in our hearts and minds. Give us humility as we work with one another to help people to come to know you. Please, God, unite us in your spirit. Grant us the willingness to be open to each other, to respect each other, and to be supportive of each other as we strive to do your will. Please, Lord, again, unite us in your spirit and help us to grow ever closer in nurturing the bonds of our community. We thank you, Lord, for your guidance and wisdom and mercy. Amen. Amen. I'm now going to read to you the ACN group report.
No, that comes after, Ibi.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to hand over to Fr Ambrose now, who will give us a review of last year's 2022 and the way in which we're going to move to 2023. Thank you.
Is your microphone?
Yeah, it's not working.
No, that's for the camera.
No.
It's not a.
It's not a.
It's for the camera. It's just not a.
You might have to move
Could you not hear me? Oh.
Thank you for coming, and you're very welcome this afternoon. We have a couple of people who are joining us through Zoom, and we're recording this so that each of the talks will be online to those who and available to parishioners to access at various points just to get an update. The format is the same; it hasn't sort of changed, but it's an opportunity just to give us a check-in of what's happening. And our first parish reboot was in 2019, February 2019. So this is the number 5th one. So, and then we started our ones in October, which is a more interactive session and group discussion, and we will around that. Again, it's sort of the key areas of the parish life, a stopgap review of the various activities of the parish throughout the year. Our finances continue to be a fundamental concern, and to ensure we're able to finance our parish mission and devise isolation for the year, indeed the years ahead, in order to continue the service of care to plan for the future. A lot has happened at the end of 2022, which has meant that 2023 is a year of great change and readjustment, in particular for the parish team. And so I will start with just those kind of changes that have occurred. In August, we said goodbye to Deacon Gordon, and the parish said a special thank you to him on Saturday the 29th with Mass at 6 p.m. and a reception afterwards. He contributed enormously to the life of the parish and his ministry as a deacon, and we're extremely grateful. And through my talk at Christmas, and then in January, we highlighted that, and I'll outline some of the key areas that they were supporting in. So I don't need to go into that again in detail in this area. The 31st of January this year was the last day in our parish office for both Maggie, our parish secretary, who has been with part of the team since 2014 and full-time since January 2019. And she was also supported our parish safeguarding reps in the administration Ascot. And I'd like to welcome Robert Ewan. Good to see that's our new parish secretary, and we're very grateful for him to taking over. I think he's hit the ground running, and he's getting on top of things, and I wish him well as he takes on that role. And just so that you see a face if you haven't been in contact with the parish office. We also said goodbye on the 31st of January to Krisha Carr, our parish pastoral coordinator since January 2008. Her office and presence in the parish house made it a hub and the first port of call for those who needed support. And Krisha was often worked with the people whom needed that extra support and time to fill out forms, to apply for assistance or be it benefits, or liaising with Age UK or various parts of the Home Office or Ealing Council in relation to citizenship and housing. And very much the role is sort of figured around intense time and a lot of time, which social care and social services aren't able to give. And so a lot of Krish's work was sort of working in very depth with with key people. One of those people was Victor Davidson, who died. Victor, if you remember, he used to collect at the 10:13 Pass for many years, and he also used to fold leaflets on a Friday evening. So Krish did an awful lot of supporting with him over the years. She was a listening ear and a practical support for help for those to get back on track. She liaised with the Vincent de Paul Society in particular, as well as being a member. And so we're very grateful to her for all the work that she has done. And together with the parish team, we will review that role of pastoral coordinator and the needs of those who come to the parish office. And then later on during the year, we will probably advertise for a new person to take that on. But at the moment, we've had between the parish office, parish secretary, and at the moment also to our sacristan is not well. He had an accident back in December, so we've been without a sacristan since then. And it's beginning to take its toll at the moment because it is an intense job, particularly on a Sunday morning and the rollout of masses and come Christmas. And we're gearing up to Holy Week, which is the key time where the sacristan's role comes into its own because there is so much involved around that. So thankfully, Kumar is getting better and he is up and walking and he's in good health and recovering well. And we wish him a speedy recovery at that time. But we are feeling that his absence at this time. I just want to also mention the bookshop, and I'm very pleased that Aggie is holding the baton of the bookshop at the moment. Again, since Conchetta passed away, we haven't found somebody who's going to manage the bookshop. We have our volunteers who are keeping it open and keeping it access, and people are using it. But again, it's that role of somebody to manage it and keep it focused and take a responsibility for ordering, counting money, etc. So it's a work in progress, but we are very grateful to the volunteers that are coming on a Saturday evening, on a Sunday morning, to open it and allow people to buy and purchase things. And Aggie continues that on, and we're very grateful to you, Aggie, for that. And just in terms of our maintenance, Radok, who is our estates manager, and our Roberta, who's our site caretaker, to thank them for all the work and keeping the parish safe. We were at a deanery meeting on Tuesday of the parishes and deanery, and the diocese is looking into the whole health and safety area and reviewing that. But each parish really, what I was reading between the lines, needs a specially dedicated health and safety officer. Would have to really be a paid role as opposed to a voluntary role because of the list of things that need to be checked, and it's obligatory, and all comes down to insurance, and all comes down to if an incident happens where these checked and where they looked after, and Radek does all of that, so we're very grateful to him and Roberto. Our parish pastoral council is truly up and running and finding its momentum. Father Timothy and myself, as members of the parish team, are on the council. And I'd like to say a big thank you to Ibi, our chair, Brendan Curran, our secretary, and Stephen Ballock, also a member of that. And Stephen will say a few words about the parish social committee, which he is leading, and what is happening there, and also in terms of the synodal pathway journey, which is progressing at a bigger world stage. The Parish Pastoral Council is steadily becoming the hub where we link those who are coming to the parish office and need support and need help to coordinate our pastoral outreach and to be a communication base to all the various parish groups. From our parish in-council meeting last October, between 7 and 9 in the evening, we had 26 people who attended and 6 people on Zoom. I think I'm just going to refer to one of the key suggestions which I think was the parish forum, which I think is a really good idea and will be a very good thing to do, but it will take a lot of groundwork and a lot of preparation to do to make it happen. So I think the parish council will in the next few months in our meetings start focusing on that and how best way to do that. one of the ideas is bringing the groups of each mass that we have to that meeting and coordinating where we are out. In light, just to let you know that all restrictions in relation to the lockdown and the coronavirus have been lifted. And so they're no longer in place, they're just during the week. And one of the things that is part of that is the receiving of Holy Communion under both kinds. And that's so we're ready to give back. The diocese have suggested that the key moment to bring that back or to have that is the Mass of the Lord's Supper for theological and the round reasons that. So we will have it on that occasion, but we are going to take a bigger look in terms of how we bring it back for weekday masses and on Sundays. And we're just beginning with those who have been coordinated Eucharistic ministers, and that's why asking them for their kind of feedback and how we were going to work it, because we will need more extra Eucharistic ministers, and the rotas will have to be very much up and fore. But if you have any thoughts on that, please let me know, and it's a work in progress. And we won't be rushing into anything at the moment, but it's something to get back into. I'm going to let Betty, our chair of our finance committee, to talk about the finances a bit later on. But I would like to thank our parish finance committee, Betty, as our chairperson, Julie Pearce as our secretary. They're the really long term and they've been doing it for many years. And I'm very grateful to them. Ibi Abasi and Stephen Ballock and Liz McCrory for their participation and membership of this committee. We are gearing up to starting a major fundraising to get our general income rising so that we can basically pay our bills. And so that'll be happening later on this year. So the committee will be very much focusing on that and having that as our mission to sort of how best to prepare for that and get that to happening. But we're very grateful to all of them for sharing their time, their advice and professional expertise to enable the parish to manage its finances proficiently and to plan appropriately for the future. And we're very lucky and grateful, as always, to have Sharon Daly, who is our Ealing Abbey Trust lay bursar, and who's also a parishioner, and who is also on the committee and prepares our parish accounts and manages the parish finances. She is extremely professional and very much part of the committee and very much key to its success. And I would also like to thank Geraldine Nelson, who's part of our part finance, who does an awful lot of work and did an awful lot of work with our standing orders when we had to review that. And we're very grateful to her, all that she does and looks after us throughout the year. So just a quick thing, our parish website and our parish Facebook are doing very well. And that's thanks to Daniel and his constant updating, reworking and adjusting and making sure people can access the information they need quickly and easily. But you realize that it's non-stop. And if you don't do it, then it falls behind very quickly. But it is a key tool, and I want it to become a key where information is there for accessing and that we can find it easily and to make that more of the case. So Daniel's doing an awful lot of work on that and continues to that, but it is extremely time consuming on the other things that need to be done. Live streaming of masses is good. We have people are logging in, and we seem to be being, in terms of paying the monthly sum, seems to be doing okay at the moment. We keep reviewing that. We charge for funerals and weddings in order that the burden isn't totally on the parish, and to support that and make that happen. But it's a key tool. Where would we be without it? And it allows people who are housebound to be part of the parish, and that's so important. Our 2 donation portals are working well. There's a constant income coming into them. We're having different problems. They always seem to happen on a Sunday, where where the opportunity for people to give is most important. But they're there, and it's very much a key aspect of making sure people are able to give when they can. And the donation on the parish website is also bringing in some money from that. Just as to mention that Father Timothy and myself are the only two full-time monks on the parish team. But we're grateful for the support of the parish Abba Dominic, Father Peter, especially the family mass and his podcasts and liaises with that, keeping that hub really alive and doing an awful lot of work that I'm very grateful to him, and Abbot Martin, and a lot in terms of helping us out with funerals in particular. because in the last few weeks, we just sort of, there's been about 10 or 12 funerals, and it just helps because it is quite, as a pastoral, it's important pastorally to be with the family and to be there at that time and to support them. And Father Timothy and myself wouldn't be able to do it on our own. So we're very grateful for that support, and it helps enormously, and it makes sort of connection. It's important that we do support people and we're there with them at such a moment. We're also very grateful to, we still have two deacons, Deacon Ian and Deacon Alex, who are particularly taking lead in our baptismal preparation program. And that is key, again, with the number of baptisms that we have, having the two deacons organising that, and Father Timothy and myself take our place in the rota for baptisms, but it is really Ian and Alex who are coordinating that. And I'm very grateful to them, and we appreciate their wealth of experience and supporting the sacramental life of the parish. Catechesis, I think this is one of our big things, and funding it is so important. And I think we have seen the benefits of having a full-time catechetical coordinator. And Daniel is doing amazing things in that. And he'll give a more in-depth review on the catechesis in the parish in the last year. But I would like to thank him, continue to thank him for his enthusiasm, his initiatives, and the roles he's playing to inspiring others to find out about their faith and to get involved in the life of the parish. He's direct responsibility for the confirmation program, First Holy Communion program, Tuesday school for those children attending non-Catholic schools, and the RCI program, which is the Rite of Christian Initiation of Adults. And that in particular, in this year in particular, we have seen an amazing growth. We have 18 people, adults, on our program, and that's gone up in the last few weeks to 26, isn't it? A few extra people, which is incredible. And it's all, one of the key things is that the reaching out. The website has done an awful lot for that in terms of a contact point. And then Daniel, we're very more of the casual going for coffee. So it's informal, it's casual, it's for those people who are making those tentative steps. It is a big thing, and it's a very sort of emotional thing to do. And just to be able to feel safe and not too full on, it's important. So that cup of coffee or that initial meeting is very important. And then he's redesigned the RCA program in terms of to make it more sort of discussion based and in doing individual sessions or smaller group sessions to allow people to explore and ask questions. Because we have people from different Christian denominations. Those, we quite a lot of people, interesting, but 4 or 5, even more, who didn't, as teenagers, the usual teenage story of rebellious and didn't go ahead of confirmation, and they're coming back and that they're interested in exploring their own faith and actually would like to be confirmed. So if 4 or 5, at least 4 or 5 are at the Easter Vigil, it's going to be quite extraordinary in the number, and that's quite an amazing. And you want to help nurture that, and you want to help make sure that people they're not going to feel afraid or uncomfortable or put off by anything, and that's why that role is so important. And it's sort of key. And I think making it full-time has made the difference. And that's where we need to be. And I think it's so important that we continue being. And so we keep going that. He's also evolving into supporting in terms of our baptismal preparation, now that Deacon Gordon is gone, because he was able to give fuller time. But Daniel's working into making that bit more access, again, with couples, to try and bring that connection. Those who come to baptism very often are not coming to Mass, they're not connected. So it's to build that connection. You ask them, well, what Mass do you come to? Oh, 10 a.m. or 8:30. Yeah, we don't have a 10 a.m. Mass, and we don't, So it is trying to broaden that in, to get them involved in the family Mass if they want to come, and then the 9 a.m. Mass too, for the older kind of children. Because the 9 a.m. Mass at the moment, we have this children's liturgy, which is a wonderful opportunity, and it was a really dedicated team that do it. Claire and Michelle have spent a lot of time and over the years, but the numbers have dropped. And since COVID, a lot of the people in a lot of families haven't come back. And so I think, but it's a wonderful thing to do. And it's wonderful to see the kids coming up and getting snippets of the gospel and learning about that. And the fact that we have people that are willing to give up their time to do that on a Sunday morning, you don't want to lose that. And so Dan, the idea is that we keep them going. We introduce them to that and give them an opportunity. This is what's happening. It's really important and it's valuable. Get on board and support that. And with a view to once a month, we'll have a mass asking those who have been recently baptized children and celebrating them as a parish team and whatever. That's a work in progress, as is going to be working with Peter Augustine and Malin Augustine in our marriage preparation. And again, very grateful to them and their team for they're doing it for over 14 years in terms of a very thorough marriage preparation. And very grateful to all they have done and continue to do over the years. So it's a dynamic part of our parish life, but it is bearing fruit, and it's wonderful to see. And it's important that we are able to keep funding that as a parish, because the network, it continues and it's not going away, and we don't want it to go away. And it's wonderful to be able to have to give them and to reach out and to be part of that. The other key thing I really think for us as a parish in terms of the extra is our extra liturgies. And I feel as our parish outreach to the fringes, those who may not be coming to Mass weekly or even monthly or very rarely, these key ones that I just want to focus on, and we've mentioned them before, but every time we have them, I think they're so important. Our first one, which we introduced a few years, 5 years, of our liturgy for families and friends of deceased parishioners. And I think Krisha did an awful lot of work in this area and made it very sort of personal. We have it's very common, you have your vigil lamp, and then people would be invited to say things about their loved ones, and Krisha would put up the statements that they would on the tree, and then we'd have prayers, etc. Sorry, I just want to. And I think it's a good opportunity for family members and friends to come back to the Abbey. So again, their relatives have come, the relatives are the ones that have the connection. They arrive for the Mass or whatever, and then they leave. And then they come back just as a moment of time of reflection. It's a time of getting a sense of community, the community at prayer, that because they have died, we haven't forgotten them, and we want them to be part of our community, and to realize how important they were. And this is the moment in November that we do. And it's letting families feel that experience as being this time for silence, this time for them to reflect. And it's a very emotional time, and it's a very important time. And I think it is a good way, a lot of negative press about the Abbey is still out there, a lot of negative press about the church. And it's just a moment that that space, reflections on the readings and music. We're very lucky to have Fab and Robert, who provide us with the music and singing, and Elizabeth too. And I want to keep that going. And I think it is important in outreach. Now, the second one, which I really want to become a thing for us as a parish, and that's our liturgy for those affected by suicide. We did our Lenten project back in 2019, I think it was, for Papyrus, which was those who have mental health issues and those affected by suicide from teenagers to about 25. And we got about 25 people for that, and we connected with some of our parishioners who had, over the years and gone back 20 or 30 years, who had been affected by somebody that they had taken their own life. COVID got in the way. We weren't able to have it. We finally had it back this May, and I've set the date this Thursday, the Wednesday before Ascension Thursday. And there's a kind of theme connection around that. We start outside, because I think that's important outside at the bottom of the steps. The alienation that many people feel who take their own lives beforehand, and climbing the steps. I think it's important for us as a church, and for those making that connection, how being outside and on the fringe, and what that means, and that sort of the physical action of that, and then coming in. It's a very simple liturgy, but it's a very important one. We only got about 12 or 13 people. And in one sense, okay, that's a bit disappointing. But what was interesting, and what came again in the second thing, we had a couple of our parishioners who were present, and they came to the first one. They said, even though it's been about 30 years, nearly 30 years since my loved one took their own lives, I still had to agonize about coming to this liturgy. And I didn't make up my mind until actually this morning. And even still coming here was still very painful. And I think that's what brought it home to me, is that those who have been directly affected by it, it is so painful, and that pain doesn't go away. And that's where we come in as a community. I think where I'm going to highlight it again, and I'm highlighting at this moment, that it's for us to carry that. It's for us to be there. There's so much of it around. It is frightening, and it's how the statistics or whatever, how younger they're getting, and then those in their 40s and 50s. But it's not, nobody's escaping, but it's too painful. And as I say, last year I did a funeral of a woman in her 40s who had a family of 7, took her own life, and they were all affected by it. So I'm calling and asking parishioners who don't have that necessary direct experience or personal knowledge in sort of knowing somebody directly to come to this liturgy as a way of a parish community helping to carry their cross, to carry their pain, their suffering, and those who have taken their own lives. And I think it's a true gesture of true discipleship and what it means to be a follower of Jesus, taking up, we heard it during the gospel in Mark, that taking up your gospel. And I think that's what community is all about. And I think from that aspect, that's what I'm going to be highlighting in terms of Lent and the weeks coming up to it, because that's where we show our solidarity, our connection of where we were at. And I would like that to be a thing, because I think it's too much. They can't face up to it. If you think of even after 30 years, you still have to sort of labor and agonize of whether you can deal with it and can face it. That's telling in itself. So I would like that, and I set up to be one of the things that we have, so we can get a decent group to come and to be present. I think that would be really, really, really good. Just to also mention, our liturgy for special needs has been going now since I think 2013. We have an Advent liturgy, Lent liturgy, and then something in Easter. And it's a great moment of friendship and making strong bonds and connections. Philly Codrington, I'd like to thank her too for her support around that. It's a good group, and our Advent liturgy this year, we had the biggest group and biggest number, which was wonderful. And I think it is good to see and be with her. And again, Krisha helped us out in that in terms of activities and crafts and that kind of thing. Safeguarding, we have two now safeguarding representatives. Jim will be talking a bit later on, and Makalita, and I'm very grateful to them, their hard work in all of the areas of safeguarding, and their commitment and dedication to it, that is just wonderful. And it is good to have, and that they're there, that it creates a solid base. We said goodbye to Suzanne Nunn, who was our third one in August. She obviously moved away with Gordon. We have our parish safeguarding committee, which consists of Monica McCarthy, head teacher, and she's a parishioner. Paul Adair, a head teacher of the special needs and a parishioner too, and Marcella Phelan, who is retired from Ealing Social Services. And together with Father Timothy and myself and our two safeguarding reps, we meet 3 times a year. The committees, it's a valuable source of knowledge and advice and experience for our safeguard reps to get feedback and get support in any matter of concern. And just rejigging us in terms of safeguarding awareness, the importance of just getting the anecdotal or just the theme of safeguarding, because it's not going away, and we need to make sure that we are on it all the time. And it's great to have Jim and Makalita there on that solid base. But there's the other stuff that we really need, the more imaginative, keeping people focused around that, and that is so important. It is a given, and I just want to say that we continue to remember in our prayers all those who have been abused emotionally, psychologically, physically, sexually, and spiritually. And we continue to commit ourselves to do our very best to support them in any way we can. And we also ensure that we do everything we can as a church, as a parish, and a monastic community to make Ealing Abbey safe for everyone, and most especially for children, and for all those who are vulnerable. That mission never stops. So there's a lot to give thanks for, and I'm very grateful to everybody who volunteers, and so many of I see you here, you do, and thank you very much. I don't know where we would be without you. And as you saw, you get the cogs, and when one cog is missing, you realize what happens. They get it buckled. Our sacristan is one thing, but you know, we have so many other jobs that people are doing. I'm very grateful, and our shrines in particular. Our new shrines are very good, but they are high maintenance, and I continue to thank Eileen and Mary for their work, and their on the button with the relevant, with St. Killian's or whatever, because they are high maintenance. And I don't think, I've never been to other churches that have them, I don't think they get the care and devotion that ours get in Ealing Abbey. But these are things. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here, and onwards and upwards. And may the Lord be with us in terms of supporting us and making do what the Holy Spirit is asking us to do, and being the parish that we are. And we give thanks for all who are involved in looking after and carrying our mission forward. So thank you, and we'll move forward.